What's your belief?
Atheism. It's also known as pragmatic atheism. While people feel the need to believe in a religion, I choose not to care. Who is God trying to prove himself to? He already knows what's going to happen. Why is he creating us? So if there is a creator, how did he come into being? How can he come into existence out of nothing? I don't think he can create such a universe out of nothing. That can't happen.
By saying this, you're proving God's existence. He existed, so he created everything else.
You can't prove to me that this book hasn't been manipulated for 1400 years.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله.
Is it okay if we post this on YouTube?
Sure, you can post it anywhere.
What's your belief?
Atheism. It's also known as pragmatic atheism. So in general, where some people feel the need to have a religion, I choose not to care. During high school, I started doing a lot of research. First, I leaned towards agnosticism because you can't be sure. I can never be sure. I can't tell you if there's a creator or not. Even if I believed in him, I can't prove it to you. That's why I tried to do more detailed research. First, I read books. There was a question that stuck in my mind, which was from the beginning to the end, the creator knows best how and when everything happens. Then why is he creating us, even though he already knows everything? I tried to think about this. I also asked this question to the Muslim sheikhs I know. They gave me answers, but when the answers didn't satisfy me, I said, could there be a problem?
So what happened? Your opinions changed.
That was my starting point. Then, as other questions arose, I said it's confusing and it makes life difficult.
Well, I'm going to ask you this sincerely.
Of course.
What would make you change your mind and revert?
Let me put it this way. I've been in this mindset for 2 years, and I'm not entirely sure that anything can change my mind. What I'm curious about is whether you can explain it to me, logically or not. If you give a logical explanation, I will think about it again.
Then let's begin. We will look at things logically. Destiny is a misunderstood subject. It's also a frequently talked about topic. We can think of it like this. Destiny is Allah's knowledge, so it's Allah's knowing something. Knowing everything that happened in the past, present, and future is called destiny. You say, yes, if God knows everything, then why did he create us? We confuse Allah's knowledge with his intervention. There are different colors of the sun, right? Let's say one is yellow and the other is red. Now like this, Allah also has the name Al-Alim, and there's also the name Al-Qadir. The name Al-Alim comes from knowing, destiny is in that area, so that's Allah knowing things. The event of intervening, creating something comes from the name Al-Qadir, the name of Al-Khaliq. This is a different characteristic. So where do we get confused about fate? When the concepts of Allah knowing and Allah forcing or intervening are mixed up, just like the yellow and red colors of the sun. If we can view them as two distinct characteristics, then there will be no problem. We can also say knowledge is dependent upon the known. The fact that I know something depends on the event happening. For example, the time of sunrise is specific, right? Let's say 7:30. It's on the calendar too. Now the question is, does the sun rise at that time because 7:30 is written on the calendar, or does it say 7:30 on the calendar because the sun rises at that time? It was understood with science, so it was written. So I say knowledge is subject to the known, so the information here is dependent on the event. Just like this example, the fact that Allah knows what we are going to do does not mean that he intervenes. We are already doing it, and because we're doing it, Allah writes it into our destiny. I mean, he knows.
Now, brother, I understand what you're saying is logical. It's understandable, but why does he do it when he knows? So he already knows what's going to happen. Everything is evident. What's the need?
So you're asking then why did Allah create us? Allah's creation of us reflects his attributes. That is the manifestation of the attribute. For example, let's say you're a very generous person. You have such characteristics. You come and say, I want to treat you to something, and then I tie your hands together and prevented this feature from being exposed. Would it make sense?
That would be absurd.
It would be illogical. Similarly, the characteristic of Allah is generosity. When you look at the name of the Absolute, Al-Jawad, or the others, that is Al-Rahim or Al-Hakim, the Absolute Hakim, that is the characteristic of doing the most logical thing, the most beneficial thing in all he does. What's the other feature? The Absolute, Jawad, generosity, infinite generosity. Now, Allah wanted to bring people out of nothing into existence, to reveal beings, to create them, and to offer them his generosity and reward them. He offers his blessing in eternal life, just as he offers them in this short time on earth. Now, as we said, it is not wise to prevent someone's generosity, and it didn't make sense because the trait of generosity wants to be exposed. Allah also brought us into existence from nothing because he has the name of generosity. Allah could not have created us all, which was an option, so then why did Allah create us? We said the Almighty does the most logical, most beneficial thing in everything. This means that he chose to bring people into existence from non-existence, then to provide, doing the most logical and beneficial thing for many reasons because this is the reflection of his attributes.
But let me ask you something. Who is Allah trying to prove himself to? Because only he knows these attributes as only he exists.
The real beauty is here, you know? Because, for example, we try to prove ourselves to each other, right? For example, say you are more handsome than me, you are more generous
This
than
can be
me.
an ego satisfaction as well.
Maybe, but that's for humans.
Yes.
Why? Because we are similar people. We are human, so we may have conflicts with each other. Allah has no partners. He's one. He is free of matter and space. This means that the desire to prove himself or his ego is out of the question for Allah. There is no one equal to him that he can or should prove himself to.
He is at the peak according to religion. Nothing is superior to him.
He's like no other.
Yeah.
It's like us being arrogant and proud towards the cameras or the bags. That would be silly. Just like that, the concept of ego cannot be valid for him. What we see is the characteristic being revealed. For example, if we see mother's love for a baby, she caresses her head and loves her while she's asleep. Now, is the mother doing it because she needs it, or is she doing it because she loves the baby?
She does it because she loves the baby.
So Allah does not create us because He needs us. He creates us because He loves us. Who gave that affection to the mother anyway? The source of compassion is Allah Himself. This also isn't a need.
The relationship between a mother and a son and a servant in God is not the same.
Not the same, but similar in terms of mercy, because the source of mercy is Allah. For us to know that Allah is merciful, He has created mercy in the universe. He has given us the feeling of generosity so that we can know that He is generous. He gives us the ability to make comparisons, you see? Based on this comparison, you find Him. That is the purpose of being created, finding the Creator with comparisons.
Can I ask you two different questions? My first question is that God's existence has no beginning, but humanity has a beginning. I mean, there is an endless time until the existence of humanity. So why does He create people after all that time to show that generosity?
The concept we call time begins with the universe. So, what is it? You've probably heard of the Big Bang Theory? The starting point of time and space, the concept we call time begins with the Big Bang. Time is a system related to the movement of matter that started with the universe. Time coexists with the universe, so we should say the one who created the universe and time is naturally before time and before the universe. Inherently, it is irrelevant in the sense that it does not resemble the one He created because He is the creator of time. Just as the person who makes a phone is not included in the rules, for example, there is a lock on the phone. Will the person who made the phone be included in that feature? When you lock your phone, does it get locked as well?
No.
He doesn't, right? Because the rules apply only to the phone. Similarly, Allah created the universe and integrated concepts such as time and space into the universe. Allah is independent of time. For someone free of time, concepts such as waiting, either a long or a short period of time, are not valid. Naturally, there's no concept of time for God.
You know, something can't exist out of nothing, brother. For example, in the palm of my hand, even if it seems like nothing, there are atom particles. I don't think He can create such a universe out of nothing when He has nothing.
In fact, by saying this, you are proving Allah's existence, because you say there can be no such thing as nothing. There was Him. He created everything. Just like you said, I have air particles in my hand. There are particles even though we can't see them. We live in the material world, but the one we are talking about is free of matter. He's the one who reveals matter. He is free of time. He's the one who created time. He's not dependent on matter, so this means He is such a being without it. You said something cannot come out of nothing. This is true for material, so this idea actually clearly shows the existence of Allah, because material cannot arise by itself out of nothingness. Certainly, a will is required for the one who chooses to create matter.
Since there is a creator, okay? If this creator can create everything, how did this creator come into existence? How can something exist out of nothing?
Great question. Okay, let's do it like this then. Say I have a glass of water in my hand, okay? If I spill a glass of water on you, you'll get wet, right? Why? Water makes you wet, but when water is poured over water, the water does not wet the water. Why? Because it is already wet. The water can't get wet. It doesn't affect that what is already wet, but it wets what is dry. The main issue here is your body getting wet is temporary, which is later affected. Similarly, Allah's creation is unique. Allah creates, He creates matter, the material was created later, and the source of the material is Allah. Then we will say that the outside does not influence Allah's creation because His creation is unique in His way. Just as water does not get wet under the influence of the outside, the creation of Allah is essential. The outside does not influence it, but Allah creates it. Since there are no concepts such as before and after, where there's no concept of time, asking about the past such as who created God is a contradiction, because whereas there's no concept of time, there is no past. Obviously, for a being who has no beginning and no end, asking who created him is unreasonable.
Well, brother, I would like to ask you a question. The Bible, Torah, Psalter are believed to have been changed.
Yes.
The Quran was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad 1400 years ago. Even though it was compiled very precisely, you can't prove to me that this book hasn't changed for 1400 years.
Now, we need to present proof here to be able to say that the Quran has changed. You made a claim and you need to be able to prove
Look,
it.
I didn't say it has changed, don't get me wrong, but I didn't say it hasn't changed either.
Okay, cool. Then this is how we know. The fact that all the Qur'ans are the same when you go to any mosque in any country is proof that the Qur'an has not changed. When I am reading the Qur'an I get from a mosque here, and when I go inside a mosque in England and get a Qur'an, they are the same. They are identical, word for word. There is not a single difference. The fact that they're all exactly the same is proof that the Qur'an has not been changed. If someone made the slightest change, it would cause a lot of fragmentation. Firstly, because it would have a domino effect. But the fact that there is no difference is proof that it hasn't changed. In addition, the second evidence is that even now there are millions of hafiz, millions memorizing the Quran from beginning to end. And a lot of people have adopted this idea. 1400 years later, even in this period, millions of people memorize it. Therefore, what does the continuation of memorization show us? It shows us that the Quran was memorized and brought to the present day this way. At the University of Birmingham in England, they found a Quran. They did a carbon-14 test on it and found that it dates back to the time of Uthman.
For about 13 centuries, it has been read somewhere.
Exactly the same every time, even when published on the internet. Even when we look at it, we can see that the Quran is literally one and the same.
Let me put it this way, brother. When you think about it, there are points that one finds logical, but there are also points that they find unreasonable. Falling into this contradiction makes you say, what should I do?
Is it reasonable to turn away from religion just because my mind couldn't quite understand the concept? Here's how you do it. Keep researching from inside. Think of a palace with 100 doors and you open one. Even if there are closed doors, meaning points that you don't understand, it doesn't stop you from going inside. Just one door is enough. I will repeat it. Let's continue our search through the palace.
I mean, brother, your words are very appealing. Let me tell you something. I will continue researching, just for the sake of this beautiful speech. I will continue to do research. I will search more. Maybe this is the right thing, maybe not. I don't know for sure right now, but I will continue to do research.
Shall we investigate together from the inside?
I can't go back to religion. Look, if I go back to religion without actually wanting it...
No, don't think like that because you'll continue using your logic. You're saying I'm going to investigate the logic that makes sense, but from the inside, after all, I'm not telling you to continue without using your logic. I'm saying go with rationality. I can say that this is a trick of the devil because you'll go with logic.
Then maybe I can try.
Let's research together and you can message us again whenever you want. I say let's explore it together.
Okay. Okay, man.
Great. Do you remember the Shahada?
Let's go.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله.
أنا آمنت وحسبي أن إيماني بربي ما له يوما شريك وله أخلصت حبي ما له يوما شريك